What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. My name is Andrew and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be looking at USB microphones in a time where everyone is at home or on their own. Whether you're playing video games and having a conversation over Discord, or you're leading lectures or participating in lectures on Zoom, you're gonna want to make sure your audio quality is as good as it can be. So today we're going to be looking at 3 USB microphones and deciding which is best of the 3 and how much should you really be spending on a USB mic. Let's get into it. So today we are looking at 3 different price ranges. We're going to be looking at $55, we're going to be looking at a microphone that's $140, and we're going to be looking at a high-end microphone that is $350. We're going to be rating all of these microphones based on 4 categories: the visual aesthetic, the build quality, the sound quality, and any additional features that might boost it above its competitor. So without further ado, let's meet our first competitor. Coming in at $55, this is the CAD u49. Coming straight out of the box, the CAD u49 comes with the microphone itself, a microphone clip, the tripod stand, as well as a windsock and 1 cable, which is a USB Type A to USB Type B. You know, out of the box, I really did not expect the microphone that we got. In terms of visual aesthetic, we have a pretty decent looking microphone. 2 very simple knobs, 1 volume, which will act as your monitoring control through the mini port at the front, and echo, a built-in effect on a USB microphone for $55. Overall, the matte black finish is very nice, and when it's paired with the tripod, looks very sleek on any desk setup. Overall, I'm gonna have to give this visual aesthetic a 3 out of 5. Not the most professional looking microphone, but for $55, definitely not bad. Now let's talk about build quality. In terms of build quality, this microphone is light. I wasn't expecting it to be this light. I was definitely expecting something heavier when I took it out of the box. The reason that the box weighed as much as it does is because there was all the extra stuff in it, like the tripod, the clip, and the cable. Hopefully, if they ever decide to make this in a future iteration, it becomes a little bit heavier. For me, stability is a very key factor. I would like to see that, so I know I'm not gonna knock this thing over every time I get up from my desk. Overall, I'm gonna have to give this build quality a 2 out of 5. Now, let's talk about sound quality. How does this microphone sound? Pretty damn bad. The problem this microphone has is exactly what impeded itself on the build quality. It's light, there's no insulation inside of it, and because of that, it sounds like we're in a wind tunnel. This is a prime example of you get what you pay for. $55 will not get you a microphone that is studio quality. Overall, sound quality on this guy gets a 1 out of 5. Now, what about the additional features? We have 1, an echo knob. Very simply placed right dead center in the mic. You can add as much echo or as little echo as you want right into your recording. You don't have to worry about adding that in post. Pretty cool. It's really rare for a USB microphone to have a built-in effect. Unfortunately, the echo itself doesn't even sound that great. You'd be far better off using some of the stock plugins that come with your audio workstation. While it is cool to have, I don't think it's a feature that warrants having any points in this section. So for additional features, the u49 gets a 0 out of 5. Now that all the review and features are out of the way, let's hear how this thing sounds. From under this great panoply, she peeped up in a nervous, hesitating fashion at our windows, while her body oscillated backward and forward, and her fingers fidgeted with her glove buttons. Suddenly, with a plunge, as a swimmer who leaves the bank, she hurried across the road, and we heard the sharp clang of the bell. Up next, coming in at $140, we are looking at the Rode NTUSB Mini. Coming straight out of the box, the Rode NTUSB Mini isn't much to look at. It comes with the microphone itself, which is attached to a base, as well as 1 cable, a USB Type-C to USB Type-A. Overall, in terms of visual aesthetic, we're looking at a very simply designed microphone. An all matte black design with 1 control on the front. On the back, we're looking at the USB-C port, as well as a 3.5mm headphone jack. With its rectangular shape, it definitely resembles a studio condenser microphone and overall looks super sleek on a desk. I'll have to give this visual aesthetic a 5 out of 5. So visual aesthetics out of the way, how well is this thing built? The build quality on this microphone is pretty fantastic. It's heavy. Even without the base, this microphone is heavy. I feel like I could do some real damage if I were to throw this at someone. That was a joke. Please do not throw a microphone at anybody for any reason. Now the base, while magnetically attached, is still pretty strong. When I put it down on my filing cabinet during a break in this video, I had to use a decent amount of force to actually get this thing off. The base's magnetic design was done on purpose, and it's to reduce any vibration that comes from your desk, or if you bump into it, into the actual sound of your microphone. I will say the one thing that I don't like about this microphone inside of the build quality is the stiffness of the angle adjustment. Most microphones are pretty easy to do. I'm assuming because this is brand new, it's really stiff, and I hope over time it would loosen. But as of right now, it's not something that I'm a huge fan of. Another cool thing is the rubber grommet at the bottom of the angle adjustment. If you remove that rubber grommet, as I've done here, and you can see I'm having a pretty tough time with it, it reveals the threading underneath, which you can use to put on a studio arm or on any other mic stand. Overall, I have to give this build quality a solid 5 out of 5. Now let's talk about the sound quality. The sound quality itself is pretty good. For a $140 microphone, it sounds a little bit better than that type of price point. The one thing that I really noticed is that everything you say in this is very clear. Everything that you enunciate, everything that you say, if you're talking really fast, words get heard with this microphone. Whether you're on Discord with your gamer friends or if you're participating in a Zoom lecture, this is something that's going to get you heard and that's going to make sure you are understood. The one thing I don't like about this microphone is that there doesn't seem for myself to be enough of a dynamic range. I have a naturally high voice and I would like to see a bit more dynamic range to bring my voice down in the frequency spectrum. Overall, a very decent sounding microphone, and I would have to give it a 4 out of 5. In terms of additional features, there really aren't many on this particular microphone. We have one knob that controls both your headphone volume as well as your gain, which is also a button. By pressing that, you can switch back and forth between the two. The NTUSB Mini will score a 0 out of 5 for additional features, just due to the fact that there aren't really many. Now let's talk about the pros and the cons of this microphone. The pros: this microphone handles plosives really well since it has a built-in pop filter, and it's really small, so it takes up a lot less desk space compared to the other two microphones we're talking about today. In terms of cons, there really aren't many. It's a very simple microphone and a very good microphone at that. I'd say at $140, you'd be hard pressed to find a better microphone than the NT-USB Mini. Okay, I've done a lot of talking. Let's check out the Rode NT-USB Mini. From under this great panoply, she peeped up in a nervous, hesitating fashion at our windows, while her body oscillated backward and forward, and her fingers fidgeted with her glove buttons. Suddenly, with a plunge, as of the swimmer who leaves the bank, she hurried across the road, and we heard the sharp clang of the bell. And finally, we have coming in at $350, the Shure MV7. The Shure MV7 comes out of the box with 3 very simple things. 1 being the microphone itself, and 2 cables. 1 USB Type A to a micro USB, as well as a micro USB to USB Type C. I really like the fact that they gave multiple cables in this package just so you can make sure you have the right connections straight out of the box. Now, let's talk about the microphone itself. Do you recognize this design? If you do, then you've clearly watched our other videos. This looks a lot like an SM7B. Although it's definitely a little thicker in its design, a lot shorter, it still resembles that microphone really well. So if you want the SM7B look without paying the price of a 7B, the MV7 might be for you. In terms of visual aesthetic, there's not much to say since it's so similar to that microphone. The one thing I don't like about this microphone visually is the Shure logo on the side. It's not being done justice on camera, but in person it is massive. It stares you right in the face saying, hey, you know who this microphone was made by? I would love to score this microphone higher in terms of visual aesthetic if it weren't for this massive logo. Make it a little bit smaller, and now we're talking. I love simplicity and subtlety, and this massive logo isn't doing it for me. Again, with the other microphones, we have an all matte black finish. We have a built-on pop filter that is removable to show the capsule, as well as the touch controls on the top when you're using this in the USB function. The microphone does come with some paper documentation on how to use the touch controls. However, after fumbling around with it for about 2 minutes, I was using this thing as if I had always had it. The mounting system, much like the 7B, is very sturdy. Putting it on its own desktop stand or even on a studio arm or microphone stand, you're not gonna get this microphone to move anywhere. It's really sturdy and it's got some good weight to it. In terms of build quality, we gotta talk about the mounting system. Much like the Shure SM7B, the MV7 can be used upright or upside down in its configuration. The cool thing about it is that it is rotatable by 180 degrees, so if you want that Shure logo readable, you can have it that way. Overall, this microphone is heavy. It's not as heavy as a 7B or as heavy as some other high quality mics out there, but definitely has some weight to it that assures me this isn't going anywhere once I mount it to a stand or to a studio arm. Overall, the build quality of this thing gets a 5 out of 5. With a microphone of this price at $350, we have to talk about sound quality. How does this microphone sound? Pretty awesome. The MV7 is very comparable to the SM7B in that words are going to be heard. There's a little bit of a brightness on the top end. However, if you get too close to it, you're going to distort the mic very quickly. It's not meant to take high sound pressure levels. It's definitely something that you want to stay at least 3 to 6 inches away from when you're talking into it. When the microphone is hooked up via USB, it sounds pretty damn good all on its own. Given that you have the touch controls to control not only your gain, but your monitoring via the headphone jack at the back, this is a microphone that you can definitely hook up straight to your computer and start plugging away. I would definitely consider this as an on-the-go microphone. If I know I'm going to be holed up in a hotel and I need to make sure I'm on a Zoom call, this microphone would probably make it into my bag. The difference between the USB function and the XLR function isn't horribly different, which is a great thing to note. If you've been using it with a preamp at home and now all of a sudden you need to use it on the go, you can expect the same type of quality. The only difference is that with XLR, you're at the mercy of your preamp. With USB, you get what you get inside the microphone. I would like to see this microphone be able to handle higher sound pressure levels so I can get closer to it or I can speak louder with it. I don't think I can really do that with this microphone as it's currently built. Overall, sounds fantastic, and I'm gonna have to give this a 4 out of 5. In terms of additional features, this has probably one of the coolest, which is the Shure Motive app. Motive is an app developed by Shure that allows the user to monitor their recording levels right from their phone. It's a fantastic feature that adds a lot more value to the microphone itself. Given that the XLR function does render the app useless, I'm going to be giving the additional feature section for the Shure MV7 a 3 out of 5. So what are the pros and cons of the Shure MV7? The two major points we came out with were that it's a usable microphone in any studio type of setup, whether you want to use it as an XLR microphone or you want to use it as a USB microphone. The second pro you'll find is that you're getting studio quality audio for not a lot of money. Now there are still a couple of cons despite the fact that I just raved about it. The windsock that's built onto this microphone falls off quite easily. While it's not bound to fall off on its setup, if you are messing around with it and stumbling around in your bag, it's definitely bound to fall off eventually. The other con I did mention when talking about the Motive app is that that app is useless when you're in XLR mode. Very minor gripe for an otherwise fantastic microphone. Enough of me talking about this thing. Let's check out how the MV7 sounds. From under this great panoply, she peeped up in a nervous, hesitating fashion at our windows, while her body oscillated backward and forward, and her fingers fidgeted with her glove buttons. Suddenly, with a plunge, as of the swimmer who leaves the bank, she hurried across the road, and we heard the sharp clang of the bell. Now, how do these microphones rank based on the system we established at the beginning? Well, it should come as no surprise that the Shure MV7 places first with a solid 16 out of 20. In second place, following very close behind, I'll say in points, with 14 out of 20, we have the Rode NTUSB, and of course, in last place, you get what you pay for, the $56 CAD u49. The one thing I will say about the u49 is that if you're in an absolute pinch, you need to be on a Zoom call in 10 minutes and you need to quickly run out and go grab a microphone, it's not a bad choice, but you can definitely get better quality if you're willing to spend more money. Now let's talk about how closely the NTUSB Mini and the MV7 placed. Although drastically different price points, sound quality is very comparable to each other. So to answer the questions, which of these mics is best? Well, of course, based on our rating system, the Shure MV7. How much should you be spending on a USB microphone? I would say it's safe to spend around 100 to 150 on a USB microphone. You can easily pick up the NT-USB Mini or if you're willing to splurge up into the 200 range, another notable option would be something like the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB-I. At the end of the day, we can't tell you how much to spend. I'm simply saying this is how much I would spend on a USB microphone if I was going to get one. And if you have the budget to spend a little bit more, then spend more. Ultimately, you're getting what you pay for, and it's going to show in the quality of your production. Now, I've done a lot of talking between all these microphones, so here's the test one more time with all three microphones back to back. From under this great panoply, she peeped up in a nervous, hesitating fashion at our windows, while her body oscillated backward and forward, and her fingers fidgeted with her glove buttons. Suddenly, with a plunge, as of the swimmer who leaves the bank, she hurried across the road, and we heard the sharp clang of the bell. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you learned something on what microphone you should pick up out of these three. And if you're not picking any of these up, we hope we were able to help you decide how much you should spend on a USB microphone. If you want to check out a couple of our other videos, please do so. It helps us out greatly. You can check out our Aston Stealth versus SM7B shootout, or you can check out one of our more recent videos of why you should pick up a Fender Stratocaster. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.